We begin today the Gemara on the Ches Summit Beis, towards the bottom, about 6-7 lines from the bottom. There's a siman the Gemara brings here for the following memres, the statements that it brings b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Kibbutz, Gaisos, Tzedakah, according to one Gersa Maisa, or Meiser with a Reish, Parnas, Siman. This is the siman of the next few things. Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan said, Godel Yoim HaGeshamim. The greatness of a day that it rains is so great, Ki Yoim Kibbutz Golius, like the day that the Eibishter gathers Yidden in from Golus. Shenema, the Pasuk says, Shuva Hashem es Shviseinu. The Eibishter returns us, and it compares it to Ka'afikim Banegev, like the Afikim that is in the Negev, in the south. What is Afikim? Vein Afikim Elamotar. When it says Afikim, this refers to the rain that comes down. How do we know? Shenemar, there's another pasuk where it says, Vayiru afike yam, or Vayiro afike yam, that the afike yam, which is what comes out, the water that comes out from the ocean, came out. So we see the term afikim refers to water. Amar Rabbi Yochanan also said, Godel Yom HaGeshamim, the day that it rains is so great, Sha'afil Gaisos Paiskis Bay, that even the soldiers in an army that are going out to fight, but on a day that it's raining, it holds them up. They don't go out. Shenema, the pasuk says, Tilomeho Rave Nachas Gedudeho. What this means is, the Tilomeho are the little mountains that there is in the field. When a person plows his field, Rave, it gets quenched from the thirst of this field gets quenched from the rain that it rains. Naches Gedudeo, so the Gedudim, the groups of soldiers are calm and they don't go out to fight in a time when there's rain.
You need a pasuk for that?
It's an obvious fact, huh?
Yeah.
Rabbi Yochanan said, Ein HaGeshamim netzarim, the rain does not get held up, Ela b'shvul poiskei tzedakah berabim, because of people that pledge money publicly, vein noisnim, and they don't give their pledge. Shenema, the pasuk says, Nesiim veruach, clouds and wind. So you have clouds and wind that comes, v'geshem oyin, but there's no rain. Ish mishalel b'matan shoker, and a person is praising himself with a false pledge that he makes to give, and he doesn't end up giving it. So Rashi says, just like the person that makes a big commotion of himself, and he pledges, he's going to give, and he doesn't end up giving anything, the same thing also, the Eibishter brings a cloud and a wind, and it looks like it's going to rain, but b'poil nothing comes. That's one pshat in Rashi. Rabbi Yochanan also said, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says aser to aser? By the mitzvah of meiseres, it uses a double lashon. What does this mean? Aser b'shvil shetisasher. You should give meiser in order to become rich. That's how a person becomes rich, when he gives meiser. So lashon the Gemara, actually, some Mefarshim point out, is aser b'shvil shetisasher, meaning that even though usually by mitzvahs we say that you should do the mitzvah l'shma and don't you do it for any reward, but over here it says even if a person gives tzedakah and gives meiser b'shvil, for the purpose because he wants to become rich, you'll become rich. Ashkechei Rabbi Yochanan liyenuke de Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan encountered the young son of Reish Lakish. Now Reish Lakish was Rabbi Yochanan's brother-in-law. Reish Lakish married Rabbi Yochanan's sister. If you remember the story in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan was the one that made Reish Lakish into a Baal Tshuva, and he taught him Torah, and then he married him off to his sister. Now this child was Rabbi Yochanan's nephew. Amalei, Rabbi Yochanan tells him, Eimeli psukech, tell me the pasuk that you learned today. Amalei said to him, Aser ta'aser. I learned the pasuk of Aser ta'aser. Amalei, so the child said to Rabbi Yochanan, Umay Aser ta'aser. What does this double lashon of the pasuk mean? Amalei, Rabbi Yochanan answered him, Aser b'shvil shetisasher. You should give meiser in order to become rich. Amalei minoloch. So the child says to Rabbi Yochanan, how do you know this? Amalei, so Rabbi Yochanan answered him, Zil nisi, go and try it. Amalei, so the child says to Rabbi Yochanan, but are you allowed to try and test the Eibishter in this way? Vaksiv, the pasuk says, Leitenasu es Hashem, you're not allowed to test the Eibishter. Amalei, so Rabbi Yochanan answered him, Hachi Yomer Rabbi Yishia, this is what Rabbi Yishia said, Chutz mizu. Usually you're not allowed to test the Eibishter, to do something because you want to test to see if the Eibishter will reward you, but besides the mitzvah of Meiser, of Tzedakah. Now there's a pasuk that says, Eviu es kol ha-Meiser beis ha'itzer. Bring all the Meiser into the storehouse, and then v'yihi teref bebeisi, and then you'll have food in your house. And the Eibishter says, Ubechanuni na bezais. You can test me with this. Amar Hashem Tzvais, the Eibusha says, Im le'eftach lechem es arubis hashemayim, if I will not open up for you all the windows in the sky, v'arikaisi lechem bracha ad beli dai. And I will empty out all the brachas to you ad beli dai. And Gemara teaches, my ad beli dai. What do the words ad beli dai mean? In the simple translation, ad beli dai sounds like that it will not be enough. Amarami bar chama, amarav, achi yivlu sifseisechem miloi madai. You'll be so much that your mouth will become worn out, or your lips will become worn out from saying enough. This is what Rabbi Yechanan explained to the child. Amalei, so he said to his uncle Rabbi Yechanan, Ihavis mati hasam, if I would have arrived to this pasuk that you just quoted there, it's a pasuk in Malachi. Yeah? So if he says, if I would have learned that pasuk myself, so then I would not need you to explain me this, or to your teacher to explain me this, because I would see this pasuk for myself. Okay, this is how he speaks to his uncle, no? Upon him, just if you see over here, the Taisvis, there's a long Taisvis. Taisvis quotes here a Medrash, and the Medrash brings a story of a person that had a field that would produce tremendous amount of produce. Elef kur, huge amount. And this person was so rich and he gave a lot of tzedakah, he would give 100 kor for Meiser. And before he passed away, he called his son and he told him, you should know that I'm giving you this field that produces so much. Be careful, always give this amount of Meiser of 100 kor that I gave. Knew what happened after he passed away, and the son did not give this kind of a Meiser. And the next year, what happened? The field only produced 100 kor. Instead of producing 1,000, it produced only 100. Okay, so that Taisa says this is the whole story where you see that whatever Maisi you give, B'shvil Shetisasher, that the Eibusha gives you 10 times as much. Okay, the Taisa brings here the story from the Medrash with all the details. Let's talk to Gemara weiter. Another pshat Tisasher. That now you should become rich. You get 10 times as much. Yeah, that's how rich you become. Let's talk to Gemara. Another story here with Rabbi Yechanan and his nephew. Rabbi Yechanan, the Rish Lakish, he again encountered the son of Rish Lakish, the Yosef Amar, that he was sitting and saying this pasuk, Iveles Adam, the foolishness of a person, to Salev Darkai. It takes him, it perverts his way. Val Hashem Yizaf Liboy. And he gets angry and he gets sad on the Eibishter. Yosef Rabbi Yechanan Rabbi Yechanan is sitting and he was wondering, and Amar, he said, is there something that's written in Ksuvim that's not hinted in the Torah? In other words, the point of this pasuk is that sometimes a person has things in his life that don't go right, and he's blaming the Eibishter, and he doesn't realize that it's really the foolishness of his own ways. So where do you have this concept hinted in the Torah? Amalei atu ha miloi remizi. So the child, the son of Rish Lakish said, is this not hinted in the Torah? Vaksiv, there's the pasuk that says this is by the brothers of Yosef after they left Yosef from Mitzrayim, and he was blaming them for being meraglim and so on. What do they say? Vayetze libam vayechridu ishalachiv leimar. They were their hearts went out and they were very afraid, and they said, Ma zeis asalikim lanu. Why is the Eibusha doing this for us? In other words, they didn't realize that it's because of their actions that they did, that they sold Yosef, so they were asking, why does the Eibusha do this to us? So here you see that sometimes a person doesn't realize why the Eibusha does it. Rabbi Yechanan heard this, Dal Einei, he lifted up his eyes, and V'chazabeh, he looked at the child to see, wow, like amazing how this child was able to see and find this in the Torah. Rashi here brings that Rabbi Yechanan had very big eyebrows, that every time he had to look up to see, he had to have these special utensils that he picked up his eyebrows to be able to look. And he looked at the child. What happened? Asi Ime, the mother of the child, which is Rabbi Yechanan's sister, came. Afikte, she took him out immediately. Amra, she said to the child, Ta mikamei. Come, let's go away from Rabbi Yechanan. He shouldn't do to you like he did to your father. Now she brings there's a story with Rish Lakish that there was one time that Rish Lakish said something to Rabbi Yechanan that was disrespectful, and Rabbi Yechanan looked at him, he was makpid on him, and eventually Rish Lakish became sick and he passed away. Dr. Gemara, Rabbi Yechanan said, Motor b'shvil yachid. Rain, the Eibusha brings to the world even for the purpose of an individual that needs the rain. Parnaseh b'shvil rabim. The opening for Parnaseh, the Eibusha brings for rabim, if there are many that need. Mata b'shvul yachid, the fact that the Eibishter brings rain even for an individual, there's a pasuk that says, Yiftach Hashem l'cha es haitzarei atayv. The Eibishter opens up for you, for one person, his treasure, los es mitar artzacha, to give rain for the land. Parnase b'shvul rabim, the parnase the Eibishter gives if it's for many. The pasuk says, Hineni mamter lachem lechem. By the mon, the Eibishter says, I will give for you the bread, so it's for all the Yidden that need the bread. Fragt the Gemara, Meisve, they asked the question, Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda said, Shloisha parnosim tovim omdo liYisrael. There were three great leaders that stood up for Yidden. Who are they? Eluhain, Moshe, V'Aaron, Miriam. And Gimel matanis toves, and there were three good gifts, nitnu al yadam, that were given to the Yidden through them. And Ve'eluhain, these are the gifts that the Yidden got in the Midbar. Be'er, the well of water that came from the rock. V'anan, the cloud that surrounded the Yidden, uman, and the man that they had. Be'er, b'schus Miriam, that was in the merit of Miriam. Amud anan, b'schus Aaron, the cloud was in the schus of Aaron HaKohen. And man, b'schus Moshe, the man was in the merit of Moshe. Meisa Miriam, so then when Miriam passed away, nistalaka be'er. So the be'er of water was removed. Shenem, as the pasuk says, v'tomas sham Miriam. When Miriam passed away, and then the Ksiv Basrei, the pasuk says afterwards, v'lehoya mayim leida. Yidden didn't have water to drink. And then v'chazra b'schus shneiim. The water was returned to the Yidden in the schos of Moshe and Aaron. And then Meis Aaron, when Aaron passed away, nistal anane kovet. So then the anane kovet of the Yidden was removed. Shenem, as the pasuk says, vayishma Kanani melech harod. The Kanani melech harod, and he heard what happened. So mashma shama. What did he hear? Shama shemeis Aaron. He heard that Aaron passed away. V'nistal anane kovet. The anane kovet was removed from Yidden. Ukasavet, and he thought that this is a sign that nitna loy reshus le'lachem b'Yisrael, that now he has the ability to come and fight with Yidden. This is the pasuk that it says, Vayiru kol ha'eda ki gava Aaron. So the simple pshat of the pasuk is that the Yidden saw that Aaron HaKohen passed away. But Rabavo said, Al tikri vayiru. Don't read the word as vayiru, but rather ela vayira'u, which means that the Yidden were exposed. So now how do we read the pasuk? Vayira'u kol ha'eda. The Yidden were exposed. Ki gava Aaron. According to this pshat, ki does not mean that Aaron passed away, but it means because Aaron passed away, therefore they were exposed. Ki ki mishamish ba'arba l'shainis. The word ki has four different meanings. It means if, dilma, perhaps, ella, but, daha, because. So over here, it means because. And then what happened after Aaron HaKohen passed away? So now chazru shneihem b'schus Moshe. So now the water and the Anani HaKovet came back in the schus of Moshe. And then Meis Moshe, when Moshe passed away, nistalko kulan. So the water, the Anani HaKovet, and the man all stopped. Shenemar, there's a pasuk that says, Va'akchid as shloishes haroyim beyerech echad. The Eibishter says, I removed all three shepherds of Yidden in 1 month. That Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam passed away in the same month. V'chi beyerech echad meisu? Did they all pass away in the same month? V'halei Miriam meisa b'Nisan. Miriam passed away in the month of Nisan. V'Aaron ba'Av. And Moshe is ba'Adar. So it's different months. It's not 1 month. Ela melamed, what this pasuk is teaching me is, shenizbatlu gimul matanis tovis shenitnu al yadan, that the three gifts that was given through them were all annulled. V'nistalku kulan b'yerech echad. And then when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, they all were removed in the same month, in the same time. Because it all came back through Moshe Rabbeinu. So what do we see from here? The Gemara brought this whole thing to prove that Alma, we see from here, Ashkecham Parnase b'shvul Yachid. We see that Parnase comes to Yidden, which is the man, in whose chus that the Yidden get the man, all in the chus of Moshe Rabbeinu. So just for one person. So the one answer is Shani Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu is different. Kivin the Lerabim Hu, because Moshe Rabbeinu is for the purpose of the Yidden. It's not just for himself, but Moshe Rabbeinu is the Rebbe of the Yidden. So therefore Kerabim Dami. So the man coming in his chos is like the Rabbim that is coming in the chos of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is for the Rabbim.
But it said before also, Panas b'shvil Rabbim.
Correct.
So this what's
right.
Saying, what's the question over here?
So over here, even though it says that it came back in the schus of Moshe, but nevertheless, it's considered to be for the schus of a Rabbim. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, saying it's pashut. It's what's the Gemara adding over here? Even if it's in the schus of Moshe, but it's for the purpose of Yidden that Yidden need it. But it's still in the schus of one person. The whole point before in the Gemara was the rain comes in the schus of an individual or in the schus b'shvil rabim. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Sagt the Gemara, Rav Huna bar Menoyach, v'Rav Shmuel bar Idi, v'Rav Chie mevastanya. These three Ameroim. Havashchichi kamei the Rava, that is. They were always found in front of Rava learning Torah from Rava. Kinoch nafshe the Rava. So then when Rava passed away, Asul kamei the Rav Papa. So they came to learn in front of Rav Papa. Koleim is to have a summer lo shmaitas. Anytime Rav Papa said that pesahaloche, v'lei have a mistavr and they didn't understand it, or they didn't agree to it, so have a meramzia dodi. They would make signs to one another. They were looking at one another that they don't agree with him. Cholash daite. Rav Papa felt bad about these students that weren't accepting what he's saying. Akrauya bechelme. So he saw in a dream that they were reading to him, to Rav Papa that is, va'akchid, as shloishes harayim, that I will remove all three shepherds in one day. So he understood that this was a sign that the Eibush is going to take the life of these three students that are not listening to him. Lamachar, on the next day, when they came to depart from him, Amar Luhu, so Rav Papa said to them, Leizlu Rabbanon b'shlama, the Rabbanon, you should go in peace. What does this mean? So there are two pshatim in this. One pshat in this is that he basically told them, you should leave, go learn by someone else, don't learn by me, because if you're going to learn by me, the Eibush is going to take away your life. So go learn by someone else. Sorry. Another pshat is bishlama. So there's the Gemara that says that when you say leich lishalom, that's what you say for a person that's going to live. Person that's passing away, you say leich bishalom. So he used the lashon of bishlama because he knew that they're going to pass away. Rav Shimi Barashi, Avashchiach, Kamei Rav Papa. Rav Shimi Barashi also used to learn in front of Rav Papa. Have a makshil leit tuve. He used to ask many questions on the things that Rav Papa said. Yom Echad, one day, Chazye, Rav Shimi Barashi saw the nafal alape, that Rav Papa is falling on his face, and he's davening to the Eibishter. And Shomei Da'amar, he heard Rav Papa saying, Rachmane litzlan, the Eibishter should save me, mikisufa de Shimi, from the embarrassment of Shimi that he asks me all these questions. So Rav Shimi Barashi accepted upon himself to be quiet, and Vesule actually, he didn't ask him all those questions that he used to ask him. Okay, that's the end of this story. Now the Gemara goes back to the inyan of the rain. So we started off saying that the Eibishter brings rain for even one individual. Reish Lakish also holds that motor b'shvil yachid, that rain the Eibishter brings for one individual. Reish Lakish said, Minayin lemotor b'shvil yachid. Where do we see that the Eibishter brings rain for one person? There's a pasuk that says, Shalu me'Hashem motor. Ask from the Eibishter for rain. Beis Malkosh, in the time when there's the season of the end of the rain. Hashem oisach hazizim. The Eibishter brings clouds. Umotor geshem yitain lahem. The Eibishter gives rain to them. Leish esev b'sadeh, for a person, for the grass in his field. So he explains, Yachoil lakoil. I would think that the Eibishter only brings rain when everybody needs rain. Talmud Laima leish. The pasuk says it's even for one person. And Vitanya, we learned in the Braise, others take out this word Vitanya. Ish, if it's one person, Yachal Lachal Sadaisav, I would think only if that person needs rain for all of his fields. Talmud Laima Sada. The pasuk says even for just one field, the Eibishter brings rain. Yisada, if it's for one field, Yachal Lachal Asada, only if he needs rain for the entire field. Talmud Laima Esev. It says in the pasuk Esev Bisada. Even if there's just one grass in the field that needs rain, the Eibishter brings rain for this person. After, of course, be zeicha to this. In Kiha, the Rav Daniel Bar Ketina. The story with Rav Daniel Bar Ketina, Havaleahi Ginse. He had a garden. And Kol Yoima Azl, every day he would go, and Vesayir Law, and he would go to look and see in the garden what's going on over there, to see what's growing. Omar, he said, Ha Meishre, this row in the garden, Bayamaya, needs more rain, more water. And Vaha Meishre, and another row there, Loy Bayamaya, does not need water. And Va'asa Mitre, and the rain came, V'kamashki, and it gave the water that it was needed for that one row or for that one patch in his garden. So you see that the Eibishter brings rain for an individual and even for one spot in the field that it's necessary. Over there where he needed the rain, that's where it came. My Hashem oisa chazizim. What's the meaning when the pasuk says that the Eibishter brings clouds? Rav Yossi bar Chanina melamed. What this teaches me is shekol tzadik v'tzadik. Every single tzadik, HaKadosh Baruch Hu oisa lo chaziz b'fnei atzmai. The Eibishter brings a cloud for that tzadik and brings him the rain that he needs. My chazizim. What's the term chazizim when it says clouds? A plural term that the Eibishter brings chazizim. Amar Rav Yehuda says. Parchais, there are flying clouds. What does this mean? Amar Rav Yechanan, so he explained, similar matar, a sign that it's going to come a strong, a steady rain. Parchais, that is the first you have these flying clouds. What does this mean? My parchais, Amar Rav Papa, Iva Klisha, Tusi Iva Smichte. You have these thin clouds that are below the thicker clouds, and that's a sign that the rain is coming. That's these parches, that's these chazizim. Chazizim are these thin clouds that are flying below the thick clouds. Rav Yehuda said, Nehila, when you have this light rain that comes down, Mikame Mitre, so before that's before the steady rain, so that means Asi Mitre. It starts raining lightly, so then you know that afterwards it's going to come a stronger rain. Basa mitre, but when you have this light rain that follows after it rains, pasik mitre. So you know that with the rain that it just rained is ending, it's finishing, and therefore you have a light rain. Mikami mitre, asi mitre, when you have before the rain, you have this light rain, so you know that a steady rain is coming. Visimonach, a sign for this is mahulta, that like when you use a sieve, when you're sifting flour, so what happens? First the thin flour comes out, and then eventually the coarse flour comes out. So the same thing also with rain. It starts with a light rain, and then it comes a thicker rain, of a stronger rain. The basa mitra, pasik mitra. And then also when it finishes raining, so after the rain you have a light rain. So simanach, a sign for this is charia de izi, the dung that comes from goats. So also the way they relieve themselves from the body, first it comes out stronger, and it finishes off lighter. Sagt the Gemara, Ule ikla leBavel. Ule came to Bavel, chaze parches. So he saw that there was these clouds that were flying, these chazizim, these clouds that were there. So Amalahu, he told them, Panu money, take in all the kalim that are outside, the hashdasi mitre. It's going to rain now. L'saif, layasi mitre. In the end, it didn't rain. Omar, so he said, Ule said, Ki heichi de mishakri bavloi, just like the people in Bavel are lying. So hachi mishakri mitrayo. The same thing also. The rain, the signs of rain, is a false sign. It's a false alarm. It looks like it's going to rain, but it doesn't rain. It's because of their behavior. Ula ikla leBavel, and Ula another time came to Bavel. Chazi molei tzane the tamri bezuzah. He saw a full basket of dates that was being sold for one zuz. In other words, it's such a large amount for such a cheap price. Omar, he said, Meloi tzane de duvsha, a full basket of honey, which is the dates with honey. And bezuzah, it's so cheap, it's just for one zuz. Ubavloi leyaski bayraisa, and the people in Bavel are not learning Torah. In other words, he says, look, they have so much money, so much food available so easily, and they still don't use their time to learn Torah. What happened? Balailia, then that night he ate from those dates, tsaru. The dates really gave him a hard time. It gave him stomach pains. So now he came and he was malamet schus on the people of Bavel. He said, Omar, Meloi tzane de sakine bezuzah. The people in Bavel have to suffer from this basket of knives that you eat them and it stechs you like it gives you these pains like a knife. And for one zuz, ubavloi yaski bayraisa, and still with this kind of food, they still learn Torah. Tanya and Abraisa we learned, Rabbi Eliezer said, the entire world, the rain that comes in the world, where does it originate from? It comes from the waters of the ocean. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, the aid yalem in haaretz. There's the aid, which is a cloud or the moisture that comes up from the ground below, which comes up from the water below, and then v'hishkos kol pnei adama, and then it drops the rain all over in the earth. So it originates from the waters of the ocean. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Amalei Rabbi Yeshua says, how could that be? The waters of the ocean are very salty, and the rain that it rains is sweet, is good waters. Amaloi, so he answered him, Memaskin ba'ovim. That rain becomes sweet when it goes up into the clouds. The salt in it stays below. It doesn't go up in the clouds. That's once it goes up, it becomes sweet. Like when a person boils water. So what happens? The salt stays below, and the good part of the water goes up.
One of the things, the salt stays down. Maybe the salt goes up and it gets the clouds clean.
Like the clouds clean it up? No. Okay.
I
Maskim Bav, and I believe I saw Mefarshim, they said that the pshat is that the salt remains below, it's heavy. The salt aspect of the part of the water is heavy, it stays below, and it's just the water itself that goes up. Rabbi Yeshua says, Kol oilam kuloi, the entire world does not get its water from the oceans below. Mimayim al yoinemu shaisa. It gets the water from above. There's water above that comes down. Shanema, the pasuk says, Limitara shamayim tishtamayim. It's from the waters of the heavens that you drink the water here. So Elamani mekayim ve'ed yalam anoret. So what does Rabbi Yeshua do? How does he explain the pasuk that says that the cloud comes up from below? Melamed, what happens is sho'anonim is gabrim v'oilim l'rekia. There are clouds that come up from below and they go up to the sky, and then upaischem pm kenoid, they open up their mouth. The clouds open up like a barrel that opens itself up. Umekablim mei matar, and they receive the rain from above in it. Shenemar, there's a pasuk that says Yizoiku matar le'edai, that the Eibishter pours water into this barrel. And so that's, in other words, he agrees that there is clouds that come up from the ocean, but that doesn't contain enough water to bring water for the rain. This little rain that there is in the clouds that come up then has to open up and receive the real rain that comes from above. Umenukav is saying kikivra, and these clouds have holes like a sieve that has holes in it. Uvois umechashreis mayim al gabe karka, and then it comes and it drips the water onto the ground below. Shenema, as the pasuk it says, chashras mayim ovish chokim, from the thick clouds it drips water here below. And ve'ein bein tipa letipa, and when the water comes out from the clouds, so what separates one drop from another is elo kimeloi nima, just like a little hair breadth between one drop and another drop when the rain comes out. Lametcha, this comes to teach you. Now this is a separate point, it seems, actually. So in other words, the point over here is, as Mefarshim explained, that to separate from one drop and another, that really if the rain would have and should have came out all like in one piece. But if the rain would come out from the clouds in one piece and it would drop that way on the earth below, it would flood everything. So the Eibishter separated the drops of the rain, that it should be a tippa, that it shouldn't come and flood the entire world. Leila metcha. Now the following psukim that we're about to bring comes to teach you. Shagadol yom hagshamim, that the day of a rain is so great. Ki yom shenivru b'shmayim v'ad. It's like the day that the Eibishter created heaven and earth. We had this before in the Gemara. Shanama, the pasuk says, Oise gedolos adin cheker. The Eibishter does great things that we can't understand. Uksiv, and right there the pasuk says, what are we speaking about? Hanoisen matar al pnei yaretz. The fact that the Eibishter brings rain on the earth. And there's another pasuk that says, Hashem and we can't understand the Eibishter, and that refers to the Eibishter creating the world. So by rain, and when the Eibishter creates the world, it says Ein Cheker. Okay, this is the conclusion of the Braise. So we had here a machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Where does the rain primarily come from? From below, from the ocean below, or from Shemayim? So now the Gemara says, according to who does this pasuk here go that it says, Mashke Harim, the Eibishter gives to drink the water, the rain, the mountains, from where? Me Ali Yosef, from the places above. So it seems like the rain comes from above, like Rabbi Yeshua said. That this is from the high places of the Eibishter, not from below. Keman ke Rabbi Yeshua. This is according to Rabbi Yeshua that says that the rain comes from above. But Rabbi Eliezer, what does Rabbi Eliezer say to this? Kivin the sulki lahasam, since the clouds, they come from below, but they get elevated above, so therefore mashke maliyasav karilahu. So therefore it's called maliyasav, that the Eibishter brings the rain from above. If you're not going to say that that's the pshat here, that it's called maliyasav because it ascends above and then it comes down below, so there's a pasuk where it says avak va'afar min hashamayim, that the Eibishter will bring dust and earth from the heavens. This is a klala that it says over there in the psukim. So what does this mean? What does this mean? The source of the sand and of the earth that comes from above. It doesn't come from above. Elakim in the midli lahasam, since the Eibishter lifts it up to above, min hashamayim karile. So therefore it says that it's coming from the heavens, but that's not the source of this sand and earth that comes from above. So the same thing also, hachanami kivin the salki lahasam al yosef karile. Since the rain, the clouds come from below and it goes up, so therefore it's called mal yosef. Another pasuk, Kamanaz lahadam Rab Chanina. According to who? There's this that Rab Chanina said go. According to it says in the pasuk, Kaines kaneid mei hayom. The Eibishter gathers the waters like you gather it into a barrel. All the waters of the ocean, noisim ba'itzarais tahaimis, and the Eibishter put it into the treasures of the tahaim, the water that's deep down under the earth. The Eibishter put it all into the tahaim. So he said, Mi garam la'itzir she'ismala bar. So he teached this pasuk as follows: who causes the treasure houses to be filled with grain? Tahaimis. It's the water that comes from below, from the Tahaim, that fills the oceans, and then from there the clouds come, and from there the rain comes, and that's how everything grows. So according to him, he's saying that the clouds and the rain all comes from where? From below, from the Tahaim. So according to whose opinion is this? Rabbi Eliezer. This follows Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. And Gemara explains, Rabbi Yeshua, and Rabbi Yeshua will explain that pasuk. Hahu bibriyasa shalayla. That pasuk is talking about not all the rain b'chlal. It's talking on the day in the Chatchila when the Eibishter created the world. So the world was all flooded with water all over. And then when the Eibishter created the world, the Eibishter took the water of the entire world and brought it together into the Tahaim and into the places where the ocean was, in order to be able to create the dry land that people should be able to live on. That's what the pasuk is talking about, but it's not talking about the rain the way it comes when it rains.